I don't have what you have. You're the only one that has that. Oh, no. I got it, okay. I've already read it. That's- Like, I'm on page 3.
Okay, it's 2:00. This is the April 19th, 2023 meeting of the Parks, Trees, and Trails Advisory Committee. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let's do roll call first. Let's start with Rod.
Anna Creel,
Cindy Kirby.
Rick Barnett.
Nancy Brewer.
On.
When the light is red on the push button. I think that's on. Okay. It's very faint. It's very faint.
I have a hard time with these, even if that. Okay, I need approval of minutes. Did anybody get a chance to read clear through them? I haven't seen them until just now, and I read through quick, but is there anything I missed? Rod or Cindy?
I read through it and I make a motion to accept them how they're written.
Okay, how about a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nobody? Okay. Let's welcome the new committee members. Let's start with Anna. You want to introduce yourself and your piece or your interest related to the committee.
All right. My name is Anna Creel. I am a recently retired music teacher of the Lebanon School District. And I am excited to be on this committee because my heart lies with the skate park and trying to get some more improvements over there and making it safe for everybody and just seeing the parks available for all citizens of Lebanon.
And she lives directly across the street from the
Directly
skate park.
across the street. And I knew it was going in when I bought the property, so it didn't deter me.
I'm Linda Zedrick. I live at East Ash and Hyatt, and I'm very interested in the parks and the trails, and especially I'm an advocate for trees.
Terrific. Well, thank you. Glad to have you here. We're
Thank
glad
you.
to get the committee up to size. Discussion. We've only got 2 items today. It's should go fairly fast. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. City of Lebanon update. Who's going to give that update? Here he comes. Oh, both of them. Okay.
Double trouble. So city engineer Ron Whitlatch and maintenance supervisor Jason Rush.
We'll give you a quick update today on the trails piece. I'll do the trails piece and Jason can do the rest of it. We've got several trails we're working on. The East River Trail or South Shore Trail, which was a grant that was given to us. We're doing the environmental process. It's still going through that process right now. We've hired Udell Engineering to do the design because we're out of staff people to do the design. So we'll have it constructed, hopefully start fall. It just depends on how the environmental stuff goes on that. Gill's Landing, we haven't made any progress on the design on that. We're still working through some of our major projects this year. As soon as we get somebody freed up staff-wise to work on the design and a cost estimate, we'll get started on that as far as trails. And then we're moving forward with multi-use path on Airport Road as part of the Airport Road Signal Project. So that's going to happen. Hope to put that out to bid, the whole project, and it's going to be late summer, looking at it right now, just based on where that's at. And that's kind of an update on the trails. Rod, I don't know, you probably got a little bit more in terms of grant and stuff, but I'll let you cover that. Is there any questions about where we're at with trails?
Any questions?
I just have a question. I know that the city was looking into applying for some grants to do some park improvements in the next year or two. Is there anything that, any update on
We
that?
still will, most likely. Right now, we do have a conceptual, rough conceptual design of what the Cheetah Lake Park's going to look like. We requested that the consultant, Udell Engineering, take a few items and move some things around, and our intent is to bring it back to this committee. I'm hoping maybe the next time we meet. So, we'll see that. And then once we know that, then we can start looking at grants. But right now, it's, we don't even have a ballpark idea what the cost is. So until we know that, we'll have to.
So the money that you have, do you have a timeline that you have to spend that by, or is it?
No,
Oh,
no.
good.
So we don't have a timeline on it. So this phased out in 2 phases. That was done by us. For this year, we're going to extend water and the sewer around. In fact, that project will probably go out to bid here May or June, most likely June. So that's first phase. And that doesn't touch too much of the grant itself, just a little bit in order to pay for it all. And then the second phase is where the conceptual design is coming in, and then we'll figure out what a cost is. But we needed a conceptual design and before we can even start looking at a cost estimate for it with the market like it is today.
So can you give the quick explanation for the folks that are new and haven't or don't know what's happening with that plan? What kind of funding do you have and what you're trying to do with it, I guess?
Sure. So the state gave the city $2.6 million grant for what they called accessibility improvements to the Cheetah Lake Park. So we took the old master plan that was out there, which called for, I want to say 3 or 4 baseball fields, and those are still in there, with multiple trails, paved parking areas, a stage for Strawberry Festival and other activities that happen down there. And just making sure that we had the infrastructure plumbed into it. So that's what that's for. We were given $2.6 million. With that, the park is eligible to use SDC funds. So it's probably about a 50-50. So we can probably double the cost of that. Or double the revenue on that. So we would have somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 million probably to look at for an entire project. And that doesn't include what we're doing with the water line and that stuff. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is. And $5 million, you'd think that's a lot of money, but it doesn't go very far.
No.
Yeah. No.
Doesn't that plan also include some ADA trail or ADA access to some different things and like bathrooms, ADA bathrooms or something?
Yeah,
too?
so the in the center of the ball fields, the way it's the conceptual is right now is a restroom, which will be ADA accessible. There'll be ADA parking up by where the stage is
Yep.
going to be, and then there'll be, of course, ADA parking in the main parking lot for different events that happen there. So.
So I think one of the things that the city and the council want us to do is when they get the conceptual, take a look, see what we think and any suggestions we would have for them. I think is pretty fair on that.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ron?
I think just a comment while we're talking about that project. A piece of that, a very small piece, is to accommodate the ball fields that are moving the existing paved trail. So it's just so nobody's surprised when that trail gets moved. That's how they're going to fit it all in.
Yeah, where it's currently on the west side of I'll call it that row of trees there. It'll move over onto the east side. And then, of course, the east side or South Shore Trail or whatever trail we want to call it. We've got a multitude of names. Will encompass that new property. It'll go around that and then go in back behind where the stage is and stuff. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Jason, how about you?
Have a couple updates on trees. You guys can see in the packet, the pictures. That was our big tree removal over off of Tangent Street. Went really, really smooth. It actually took us a day less time than we thought. The crane company was really good. Came in, I think total time for the crane from the time he set up to the time he took down was 2.5 hours. So went a lot smoother than I thought. So we don't have any other tree removals in the queue right now. So everything that we had out there has been done, and the homeowners are fixing the sidewalk as we speak or having contractors do it. As far as parks updates, everything's kind of starting for maintenance, mowing, things like that. The only 2 big events we have in the queue are the Strawberry Festival and Civil War reenactment toward the end of May. Everything else, we think there's some other things out there, but we haven't had any applications officially turned in yet, so.
Is there any plan to remove the dead trees out at Cheetah Lake Park?
Yes. So as soon as the ground kind of firms up, we'll go out and take out everything that's completely dead.
I noticed there was one that was completely dead in the parking area when I was out there yesterday.
Yeah. So,
How are you guys doing on getting on the turf and stuff? It's pretty wet, wet.
Yeah,
isn't it?
everything's-
Has it
everything's-
thrown you behind? I know
Yeah.
it's thrown others behind.
we've been getting out and mowing as often as we can. If it dries up any at all,
Mhm.
the guys have been getting out there and doing the best they can, but this time of year, the grass can get away from you pretty fast. So
Yeah.
every minute that they can be out there and not get the mowers completely stuck, they're out there, whether it's raining or not. So.
Yeah, we were
Guys.
considering sending people life jackets out in the field. Just it's that wet. Yeah.
They've come in and break and lunch and just been, miserable looking, but the guys are out there with a smile mowing and taking care of the park. So I commend them for that.
Good.
So, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So
And-
maybe
and
no
then
news is good news.
I would add in that at the last meeting, the council adopted updates to our parks chapters 12.12 and 12.14 of the municipal code. In part, this was to make sure that we align language about sleeping in parks to match what the state law requires us to do. And we've moved from parks being open from dawn to dusk to being open 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. That matches our noise ordinance for when people can be in a park making noise. We are now, that goes into effect on July 1st. So we're now in the process of starting to work on updates to signage so that the parks are signed the same park to park to park. And that includes kind of looking at the whole, when the park is open, but also no smoking. And there have been a number of signs out in parks. So we're trying to get to a consistent sign design and layout for all of the parks that will make that all ready for July 1st. So that's underway. I don't think you'll see the new language in the code until closer to July 1st, but if you want to look at it, it's in the last council packet available online. So trying to clarify all of that language.
And is that going to be a year-round open and close time?
It will be
Okay, for all the parks, okay.
for all the parks. Trying to just be clear, as we talked about it, when exactly is dusk to dawn? I didn't know this, but there are like 8 dusk and dawn times that are like, in 2-minute increments or something based on the amount of light in the sky. And you can get an app that tells you exactly when dusk or dawn happens, but that gets, I think that gets really challenging, if you're going to cite somebody for being in the park when they're not supposed to be there from the police department's perspective.
Yeah.
Do you stand there with your app going, well, it just turned dusk 2 minutes ago, and so now you have to leave is, I think, created a challenge. So
Yeah.
the hard times that match with hours of noise, I think is going to be a better solution.
Yeah, that seems like a smart solution.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Are the parks going to be impacted by some of the new legislation on where people can camp? It sounds like you're trying to not do that, but
So people will be able to seek protection from the elements in the parks, the hours that they are open,
okay,
but not the hours that they are closed.
okay.
So it is, and that is part of trying to address this. The council is still working through options for where people will be able to seek protection from the elements at night when
Okay.
parks are closed. But that will not, at present time, that is not perceived as being in a park.
Okay, that's what I wondered. So. Okay, anything else from the city staff?
One,
Oh, you have a question? Go ahead.
just a comment, Jason, I wanted to thank you for all the mowing that's been done along the trails. This is the best year that it's been for mowing, and everybody really appreciates having the whole width of the trail available. So just thank
All
you
right.
and thank your
Yeah.
crews for all that extra work.
I'll pass it on to the guys for
Thank
sure.
you.
So.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, Rod, BLT update. What have you got for us?
Okay, just a few things that have been going on in the parks. One is just touch bases on that recreational trails grant. That's the grant we got for 100, well, we are in the queue for getting it. We're chosen 6 out of 11 applications, and we should hear any day because it was going to go to the Oregon Parks Commission and they were going to approve it. So Hopefully we'll hear about that, but that's for the West River Trail extension, and it extends the West River Trail downstream along the river at River Park and creates a 3,600-foot loop trail inside the park. And so that's probably a project for, I doubt if it'll get started this year because the money comes in so late, and probably be next year's project. Little on the graffiti, I don't know if everybody here knows, but the Bill Levin Trails now has 5 quick response graffiti teams. And of course, we have names for all of our groups and all the volunteers. But anyway, so we are recording all that and we turn it into Jason. So we started the graffiti removal and cleanups last April. So the count for 1 year is 45 responses from our group. And it breaks down to the Old Mill Trail area had 18 tags, Cheetah Lake area 13, Mark Slough 8, the River Park 3, and then they like the Walmart kiosk also. So we've been out there 3 times. Sometimes we're not able to get it completely gone. And the last example was that somebody did like a 4-foot by 4-foot tag right in the middle of the trail at Cheetah Lake on the North Shore Trail, and went out there and scrubbed it and used the products the city provides us to get off. Just couldn't get it off, and let Jason know, and his crew was out there. The sun came out for like 2 hours that day, and it was covered up with black paint, and so I think we have a really good partnership going with the city maintenance people to keep our goal is, I challenge people, if you see graffiti on the trails, turn it in, and I challenge you to go back in 24 hours and find it. And so far, that's just, I gotta go, I just have to tell you a little bit more. I went on a bike ride with a bicycle club, the Willamette Wanderers. They're kind of out of Albany, Corvallis this last Saturday. And we started out in Corvallis, and we hit, there's a trail that's an old railroad access that goes out to the north part of town by Home Depot and Walmart, not Walmart, but Bi-Mart. And there just isn't any maintenance, or very little maintenance. And frankly, it was a little scary. I mean, they've apparently taken a lot of camps out of there, but there was just garbage and trash everywhere. And then when we got we did our loop out of North Albany, and we came back through Riverside Drive, and we got back to Highway 34, where they put all that money into that nice wide trail on the north side of the highway that goes into Corvallis, and it's just not in very good shape. It's not maintained, and it's just sad. So, well, with that, I guess it's pride that we have we should have with our community, because you come to our trails and they're maintained and they're in good condition. And so whenever you're out looking at somebody else's trails, you go ahead and compare it to ours. So more about the graffiti count. So the year to date for 2023 is 16. January we had 2, February we had 12, March 1, and then in April we had 1. As it gets warmer weather, we'll have more. I wanted to give you a little update on the benches. There's 3 more benches sites that we've prepped, and they're at along the Mark Slough Trail, and we're waiting for Breezy Custom Concrete to put the slabs in, and then after they cure for a while, we'll get 3 more benches put in. As far as events, this Saturday, we are celebrating the Earth Day event, partnering with the city to go to 3 city parks. It's Ralston, Bob Smith Memorial, and right here at the travel station, and spread mulch. And we hope to have 50, 60 volunteers to get it all done. And it starts at 8:30 and goes to noon. So if you want to have some fun, come out and grab your wheelbarrows, bring your wheelbarrows, because we're going to be moving a lot of bark, and we need a lot of wheelbarrows. Our fear is we'll have everybody show up with shovels, we'll have 1 wheelbarrow. And that's probably not going to work for us. So to the next event is the Cheetah Lake Fun Run and Walk and Kids Obstacle Dash, which is May 6th. We're looking for volunteers for that also to help us, set up there's going to be over 25 obstacles for the kids. And again, this year, we've had sponsors that have sponsored the first 150 kids, which is 10 and under, free registration. And that's starting to fill up. The numbers are looking like they're going to be good on both the run and walk side and the kids obstacle dash. So we'll be setting up on May 5th and looking for volunteers and May 5th and also on May 6th, just to have, we want to have 2 volunteers at every one of those kids' obstacles so we can steer them the right direction in and out. And that whole thing is over in like a half an hour. It takes us a day to set it up and starts at 9 and 9:30 is done. We run several hundred kids through there. That's really all I have for this time. Any questions?
Your graffiti task forces that you have,
Uh-huh.
they just do the graffiti, remove graffiti from the trails? Or do they go out to the parks?
Mostly the trails, but there's trails in parks.
Correct.
So, and an example is, it seems a little odd, but it's the kiosk, the information kiosk on the San Am Wagon Road that's out at Walmart. So, but the city does a lot of their own graffiti removal in the parks. They'll call us if they need to, but they've been doing a great job keeping it off too.
Great, thank you.
You can also see the same tags in the neighborhood sometimes.
Yes.
And they don't necessarily get removed.
And so we report to Jason, but we also take pictures and report to the police department, and they track it. And they get to, after a while, they get to identify who's tagging what. And so it helps them. And so if you ever see any graffiti, they want to know. PD wants to know, and pictures are great.
Thank you. Yeah, I would compliment the city and BLT on staying after the graffiti. It'll get away from you so fast. And it's kind of a thankless job because you clean it up and they just come and do it again. So thank you. Thanks the city for doing that.
And I'm really impressed with just what BLT has done for Lebanon. I grew up in Eugene, so we have all the river park or river trails and sidewalks and stuff for bike riders and that kind of stuff. So it's exciting for someone who grew up there to come to a community that offers that stuff to the residents and people who come to visit.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's getting to be a tourist attraction, and we have 3 more trail sections to complete. We're still trying to get the right of way for those 3 trails, but then we'll have a trail, off-road trails all the way from the hospital all the way to the Cheetah Lake,
That's awesome.
which people will come just to ride that. And they already do, but once you make those long connections, it attracts more and more. And then we're starting on the other side of town. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other items or discussion from the committee? Anybody have anything?
I have something. So I got the description of this committee, and I saw that there were all these things from the former Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee that had been moved into the description of this committee. I was surprised to see that there because parks, trees, and trails seems like quite enough. And I was wondering, I know it was our former city manager who initiated the closing of that committee for whatever reason. And I wondered if we could encourage the council to recreate that committee, especially since ODOT is starting pedestrian and bicycle improvements for highways 20 and 34. And it would be nice for them to have a committee to work with.
Nancy, do you have any insight on that or where that's at or anything?
They are in early days of studying and looking at alternatives. I think we don't expect anything realistic from ODOT for 9 months, a year. I think what they're trying to do right now is assess demand and need, and then they're supposed to come back with some recommendations. We're not exactly in that conversation. We're peripheral to it in that they are talking to us, but it's not a city function because they really are just looking at highways 20 and 34. And we're kind of in a hold pattern waiting to hear what they come back with and say, this is what they're going to do with their roads in the community. We would have an opportunity to weigh in on some of those recommendations, but I'm not sure we would have an opportunity to change their actions. is kind of how it's being portrayed. So we're certainly aware that they are doing some community outreach. They were in the library a couple of weeks ago, asking people going in and out of the library what they thought about it, but that's not one that they're really rolling us into in a big way. So that's, and I don't know if Ron, if you've got anything any different than that on it, but yeah.
So at this point, one of the reasons that the bicycle piece is in this is because there isn't really enough for a group to do. When that became an issue, that I don't think that the council's not opposed to that. There just isn't enough to.
I don't know that there's enough to do that would push that to a body that would meet on a routine basis. I think, you know, we may see something come from ODOT, but again, they're not looking at the road system in town. They're just looking at 20 and 34. And I don't know, you know, you think about taking your bike down Main Street and unless we go to something radically different in terms of highway traffic, I'm not sure that they would come back with a recommendation for like, let's do a bike lane on Main Street through the middle of downtown. We still have a lot of trucks that go right down Main. They do not move off to the truck route. And I don't know that ODOT has any way to force them off to a truck route, short of putting a highway patrol officer out there writing tickets galore. Now Ron's going to come and talk.
Well, let me give you just a little bit of a backstory on this. So this is what they call the Urban Design Verification Program. It really what they're looking at is what bike and ped features are on the highway. Quite honestly, Highway 20 through town is not going to have anything. I mean, so now we're looking at what intersections or what sections of the highway need to have mid-block crossings, right? So that's one of the primary focuses. The other thing that they are looking at is what's an alternative bike route to the highway. So is it 2nd Street? Is it 5th Street on this side? Is it, and it's really focused on bringing people to the highway and to the commercial areas. So we'll see what comes out of that. I mean, 2nd Street, we've had input as staff and said that 2nd Street is probably not the best based on the traffic volumes. 5th Street maybe a little more so. It's Park Street has probably got the facilities, the width to do something like that on the north end. But once you get past the couplet, there really is no option. One of the things that they came back to us with is we could look at closing a lane on the highway. I said absolutely not. We'd have traffic backed up from Walmart to wherever. And quite honestly, I don't believe that ODOT would actually do that once they got into their transportation system and freight mobility and all that stuff. So that's kind of where that's at. It's a big, they've got a lot of money for crossings and stuff like that. So I would expect to see some crossings come out of this, but really I don't see much else.
Well, and those are really more focused on the south
Yes.
end, not crossings through downtown, but really down between Walker and Walmart, basically, is what I think they're focusing most of their energy on. Not a lot of signalized intersections, whereas downtown you have stoplights and the ability to get across the street more easily.
Right.
So we'll see what they come back with.
Highway 20 presents problems for people trying to get across there. It looks kind of like Frogger sometimes. Yeah.
It does.
It's a wide, busy road.
But I'm not sure that they have yet come up with a really good, effective solution. So the push the button, the lights flash, and you hope the vehicles stop, I don't think is always a good solution. The places that you have seen that have not. That does not mean people will stop, but pedestrians may start. And that creates, I think, a different series of problems. So we're just waiting to see what they come up with. And again, that's really just on those two corridors. It's not addressing bike or ped elsewhere in town. I think in a lot of respects, the council is looking more at, frankly, the use of trails as a way to move from one part of town to another part of town quickly without being in vehicular traffic. So I think that's probably why the bike and ped came here, is working on that trail system. If you're down by the Walmart, if you can hop over to the Cheetah Lake Trails and get up to the hospital pretty quickly, probably faster than if you were driving even on Park and trying to get up to the hospital that way, so.
Well, I think it's good to have that, the discussion and to have it in the minutes, because we may come back in 6 months or a year and go, okay, it's time.
I do want to say that the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, while we had it, was very active, and the members were upset at being suddenly fired with no explanation.
Okay. We'll keep that in the minutes. I don't know anything about that, so.
So it's before my time, so I don't know that one either. I actually had not even heard about that, so.
Any other comments from the committee or questions, or, yeah, Rod's got something.
I just wanted to add that, that Bill Lebanon Trails went to the ODOT outreach and really tried to show them the vision of how the trail system can be part of the transportation picture for alternative transportation and get people away from the highway. And so I think Ron explained it well, when their focus really isn't our trail system. It's more about the really close to their highways. So whether we'll ever be able to get any ODOT money for funding trails, I don't know. We'll try, but it's a tough one.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, public comments. I don't see any public. So was there any written comments or anything? I don't imagine. Okay. Next scheduled meeting, we're skipping May because there were some scheduling conflicts. Next scheduled meeting is June 21st, 2 o'clock, right here.